Dearly redheaded, we are choosing consciousness today to get through this thing called grief. Interesting word, grief. It means love, which makes for a mighty good joke, but I'm here to tell you, there's nothing else. Just joy. And if the big picture tends to bring you down, go crazy once your life goes. Woo!
Good morning. I'm here with Shelly, my favorite person to do thought experimenting with. Good morning, Shelly.
Good morning.
This is the week between, this will air in February, but this is the week between Christmas and New Year's. Woohoo! Yay! Shelly, I love your non-reaction reaction. I was thinking about it because after we did our last taping together, it was so intense, and I was throwing all these really fucking intense things at you, and you're one that needs to think and process, and I just thank you for doing that. That was a big deal. So
you're welcome.
thank you. And just a reminder that Shelly is not going to get into her experiences, her traumatic experiences. She has no desire to do that. So she's just someone that has been through and continues to go through things that, in my mind, make her just such a value to be able to talk about what I think about, and in processing, just having somebody who can relate. I mean, it's an unfortunate way to relate, but it's also fortunate because I have you. So thank you.
Welcome. Thank you for that. That's very nice.
Well, I hope you know.
Thank you.
So what I thought we'd do is I often think about how little we laugh. And I know we laugh a lot. Not just you and I, just me in general on here. I've definitely taken the turn where I want to, spare the grief more than incite the joy, even though I mentioned it often. I just feel like we need more humor. And today our topics are pretty heavy, as they all are. But I was thinking about starting off light, and the way to do that for me, and as soon as I say it, I realize it's still heady, is I'm going to share with you, and you already know a little bit about this, what my plan is for 2026. It just happens to be a time where I have discovered deep brain reorienting. I'm going to seek that treatment in 2026, and Shelly knows that. And as a result of discovering DBR a handful of weeks ago, there was a part of me that thought, now that I know CPTSD, PTSD, CPTSI, PTSI, whatever you want to call it, is deeply rooted in my brain, I'm going to escape. I'm that's all I have to know, right? Ha ha. So, since I don't know, right after I figured it out and was able to discuss it here, as Shelly knows, I've had some real dissociative episodes in the last couple weeks, worse than I can remember. Cognitive dissonance, confabulation, memory, and I feel like it's, when you finally have that chair to fall into, that hammock to hold you, it's like finally giving my brain the permission to go, okay, now that you have a reason for it, that doesn't mean you're going to escape continuing to process. Make sense?
Yes.
That's about all I got, because it's been, I'm fine. I'm functioning fine. I'm doing fine. I still, do the joyous work. I still do spend a lot of time in solitude, but when the thoughts around this come up, it's paralyzing. So we're going to do some DBR, in 2026, and I'm going to find a specialist in long-term trauma bonding, also known as domestic Stockholm Syndrome. Doesn't that sound like fun? And then I met a woman, Dr. Brooke Soto. She's coming on in a week or 3, depending on when we book it. Shelly, you know I found her as a result of the work she does with Mindsight in conjunction with the telepathy tapes.
Yes.
Meaning she does she has an autistic child that she's had a telepathic relationship with, and then her other child learned from Gaia about Mindsight, and he said, "Hey, Mom, I want to do that." And she sought out someone to teach him, and she ultimately became the teacher, and now she teaches Mindsight, which is essentially where you're blindfolded and you can still see. You're familiar with this, correct?
Yes.
How did you become familiar with it?
I became familiar with it. I didn't know of her. I came familiar with her through you, but I heard of it through everything with the telepathy tapes.
Okay.
And a lot of that had to do with people with autistic children.
Did you watch those? Because I didn't.
I watched some of them. I don't watch much TV, so it's hard for me to sit and watch TV, but I did watch some things on it, and it was very, very interesting. And I watched some or listened to some podcasts regarding the telepathy tapes. More than others than my podcast, but I can't remember what those other podcasts were. I can get them pretty easily, but
yeah, it's really intriguing what we're capable of. And it's, of course, intriguing to me, and I'm sure to you, because of being on the autistic spectrum. When I approached Brooke, I approached her without much research into what she was up to. I reached out to her, made an appointment to talk with her, and then when we started to talk, it was one of those connections that was just synchronicity. That word. The synchronicities were flying. She, so I'm gonna have her on here. I'm also gonna do a couple of sessions with her. I'm opting for group versus one-on-one. I just think it'll be more fun, intriguing, to have that experience with other people. And what came up between us, and I also told Shelly this, was the day before I spoke to Brooke, Darius J. Wright was put on my radar. And Darius has regular, controlled, out-of-body experiences since he was a child. He likens them to near-death experiences. He's working to increase consciousness. So as Brooke and I are talking, she said, "Joanne, you really need to check out Darius Wright." And I said, "Brooke, I was on his website 2 hours ago." So that's the kind of shit that happens to me when I pay attention. And that's going to be the third prong in my fork for 2026. I'm going to hang out with Brooke. I'm going to do the DBR, and I'm going to figure out how to have conscious out-of-body experiences if my brain will allow it. I feel like trying to heal my brain and trying to have these experiences is very important because it bridges the trauma and the spirituality and allows me to have some deep recovery opportunity, but also because of what my brain's been through, I'm by nature wanting to capitalize on what it's capable of. Make sense?
yeah.
So what's your plan for 2026? Have you given it any thought, or are you like, fuck I was going to say fuck revelations, fuck resolutions.
I'm not a complete resolution person. I would say for 2026, I have a plan of kind of going deeper into my own experiences with my family because
it's necessary.
It is necessary.
I'm sorry.
And there's still so much that I haven't touched because sometimes going through the throes of life, it's easier just to kind of run parallel to these things and not really touch on these issues and dive deep. And it's just like, it's easier just to, in the moment, not sweep it under the rug, but just not look at it in the eye. And always for me, especially around holidays when there's more family gatherings, I realize how much untouched there still is. And all of it is within me. None of it is anything that my family necessarily wants to do. So it's learning to work through this stuff and without like a symbiotic work through with the people that I need to heal from.
Yeah. Unaccompanied journey.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I'm going to dive deeper into that in 2026 as the heavy stuff. For lighter stuff for 2026, I'm just getting back into martial arts training after a 4-year hiatus. And
wow.
I really missed it. And so that's my lighter stuff. I'm going to focus on that this year.
I want to try that, either wall yoga or wall Pilates. I find in my Pilates class that when I work with the instructor one-on-one and we use a wall, I'm much safer and can get more out of my body, if that makes sense. So the idea of having the supports. Are you there? I feel like we just lost you. You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, that was weird. Having the supports and having some control over pushing myself based on having those supports is appealing to me.
But that makes sense to me, not only physically, but if we're talking about emotionally, and if we're talking about healing your nervous system,
yes,
and your brain rewiring, it makes complete sense that why you would feel safer to have a wall behind you while you're doing this.
Yep, and we discovered it by accident. And it was interesting that I was attuned to it, which makes me feel good, because it's not that I feel dissociated from my body, it's that I'm still realizing my mind has so much to do and my body responds to it. So if the healthier my mind gets, my body falls in line. And I know some people are the exact opposite, but I'm just such a get to the bottom of it type. And it's a topic you really can't get to the bottom of. And speaking of topics, I finally did a segue. Do you see that? Woohoo! The topics I want to address in the next several weeks, and I'm trying to find professionals that can either share experiences or people to share experiences, but I definitely want to address rage in women because I am a woman and because it's so misunderstood. I respect that rage in men is also, a big issue, but rage in women, people get very afraid when women get angry. I think of the Hulk. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry. I want to deal more with scapegoating, especially because that's a family abuse that then makes you a candidate for trauma bonding and domestic Stockholm. And in the next episode, I'll describe this domestic Stockholm in further detail. And then based on understanding what that can do to the mind and brain and how it plays into multi-generational abuse and how it plays into estrangement. Because I think it's a part of estrangement that needs to be highlighted. You don't, in my case, you don't just separate from your siblings and come out of a unhealthy 20-year relationship and not have indoctrinated your kids to it. And many of us do that either consciously or unconsciously, depending on what kind of work we're able to do with in therapy or whatever. And I'm just really, and Shelly knows, and I think the audience knows, I'm just really pissed off at therapists. I am really irritated. Anybody can respond and tell you to meditate and tell you what you need to do to feel better, and all that stuff works. But if you don't get to the root of it, and they aren't forthright with the root, either because psychology says it's too much, or they don't get it, or they can't relate, or whatever, I just think we should be able to do a better job for people. And I think you agree with that, right?
Well, I do, especially because I view those behaviors, meditation, exercise, as general daily care. Like, that's, to me, what, if we're going to call anything self-care, those are the daily behaviors that should be like brushing your teeth, before you leave the house. So to have, it's good that these professionals introduce people to meditation as a way, but it's not, to me, it's not a way, it's a state of being. It's like, this needs to be integrated into your daily life. This is how you care for yourself. Because once those things are established, once you can have consistent meditation, consistent somatic work with your body, you can then process things in a reasonable way in your mind, and especially when you get into complex traumas. Because if you're just saying, well, like, oh, meditation and you feel better, that's not necessarily the answer. That's just a daily practice that we should all have and strive to have, to feel better and to take care of our bodies and minds in order to be able to live better. Not as just like, oh, meditate and you'll feel better, and, you won't have to, none of this stuff will, really affect you if you meditate as much, because it's just not true.
No, and that's, what I've been sharing with you, what's happened to me in the last couple of weeks is just the runway's laid. I just got to put the plane on it. And
right.
I think there's a bittersweetness in learning about deep brain injury, because it gives you the validation you on some level would like, but then it means, hey, you're not going to fucking escape this. Nobody gets out alive.
It's true.
And I think that's what I've been experiencing. The 26th hit me, December 26th hit me like I was feeling for the collective what it felt like to have come through. Those of us who are working towards, those who are on the path, those who haven't even stepped on the path, and those who the path is in hindsight. I just felt I was feeling that for everybody, and I just let myself feel it. And it's when it's shit like that, I know exactly what I'm feeling, and I know why. But I still struggle because of the symptoms dissonance, confabulation, dissociation. I still struggle with like the 3D daily stuff. I don't consider myself deregulated, but I will tell you my reaction time sometimes is off. And it's more often an underreaction than an overreaction. This is what I've learned about myself.
This is great.
Yeah. And I told you I'm mortified. I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed that I'm 56 years old, that I have the self-awareness and consciousness that I do, and had this huge experience that landed me in a psych ward. And I thought, God, that's not even the embarrassing part. The embarrassing part is still the Stockholm aspects. Staying. And along these lines, follow me. Very often we talk about people staying with abusers, but what I have started to ask myself and ask the collective and the higher self is, why don't they leave? They don't leave. So we still focus on somebody getting out of the relationship, whereas the person causing most of the turmoil is choosing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because it in my mind and research on it and what I've gone through, in hindsight now, it's like it's codependency with the abuser. It's creating a situation where they're aligning with the abusive person in hopes of no harm.
Right. But why don't abusers, once found out, once the gig is up, why do they still want to stick around? And I know I've done a lot of reading on this too. I actually brought something that we can discuss, but I don't feel I'm explaining it well, but in a situation like I was in, where somebody's doing these horrendous things, you're like, okay, you're assuming they don't want to be with you. You're assuming they're going to leave, and they stay, which only confounds the Stockholm, because now you're thinking, oh, they want to work on this. And it's covert, not overt abuse, covertly. They don't have to do anything other than stay to get you right back in that cycle. Because one would think if you want to have affairs and you want to treat somebody so poorly, and you're found out, that the normal person would say the gig is up, I want out of my marriage, I want a divorce. That's not what these people do. And I don't mean to laugh, but it's like, woo.
Well, no, because it's not normal behavior. You can't think of it as a normal person would just say, I don't want to be married to you. These are people that live off of that kind of supply. They live off that abuse.
Right. But I think
it's a symbiotic relationship. They need it just as much as the abused needs it in that relationship.
It's something.
It's like a dance. It's like they're flipping back and forth in what they're giving each other. So I really don't think that the abuser in that situation ever really feels like they're found out. I've been in situations where it was so black and white, and they still did not think that they were in the wrong, because that's not their. If we're talking about covert narcissistic traits, where they're not going to have that feeling like, oh, I should just leave. I shouldn't abuse this person anymore. I should just leave. I've been found out. It's been had. Like, let's move on to the next person, which it probably does eventually. But I think that there's like a whole dance that goes with it. There's like a discard phase. There's, back and forth. I don't think a lot of these people just go out and be single and search for a new person. I think it all kind of happens at the same time.
Yeah, I don't disagree at all. I'm just trying to give those of us stuck in Stockholm, these are things that can break you out of it. Asking, why doesn't that person just leave? I'm not approaching it from the perspective, I know they're not normal, but when you're trying to break out of it, and you've got to ask, when you've been explaining human decency to somebody for fucking decades, and I have to laugh. Okay, you know what I mean? I have to laugh because I did it. But, until I started to ask the right questions, only then could I start to crawl out of it. And I had a heads up. I think I told you I had a heads up from one of my sons, who was obviously, his soul was sent to wake me the fuck up. So, I really only started to wake up from this about 20 years ago. I don't know what that sounds like, if that sounds like an inordinate amount of time, but I had been in it since I was a child. So I try to give myself grace and not be embarrassed, even though on a certain level, I still am. But until I was able to why, and I'm just going to throw something out here. It's, again, follow the bouncing ball. When my ex approached, one of my friends in a guest room and made sexual advances, I said, why would you do that? And you know what his answer was? I wanted to feel closer to you. So when you start to ask those questions, and the answer, when I heard that, I knew it was fucked up. But I had learned to ask the right questions. Does that make sense of how the angle I'm trying to take on this?
I think so.
Because if we don't learn, domestic Stockholm is deeply in play. For both genders. And like I said, the next episode will actually define it. But to get somebody out of it, if a therapist could not only acknowledge you're in it, but give you strategies to, once I got out of the marriage, and then I needed 2 more doses. I shared with everybody. I needed the catfish dose, and I needed the roommate dose. And I then, those 3 things, boom, 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 were the 3 things that helped me, become bulletproof to whatever. I know these people are wounded. I always say, I hate to say I have empathy for them at this point, because empathy is a survival skill, and that's a whole nother fucking story. But I want to give people strategies who want out of this. Got to start asking the right questions, and somebody's got to fucking point it out to you.
Yeah, I agree. I think it would help if I mean, I don't know in the entire collective of the profession how educated they are on this and how deep that they go with it, because I know the therapists that I had spoken to over the years were not.
Right. It's mortifying at this point to not only to have lived with this, but to seek help. Like the whole experience is mortifying. And it's unfortunate. And I think we're actually at the end of the first episode already. So we'll delve in the second episode.
Thank you for listening and supporting Natural Born Redhead. If you follow the bouncing balls, please like and subscribe. If you know someone interested in sparing others grief and inciting joy, message me on Facebook or reach out via my website, Natural Born Redhead. J-Ma.